Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-April horoscope and taroscope. This is for Leo, Sun, Moon and Rising. So Leo, this is an interesting time of the year for you. There's a lot of energy occurring with the sign of Taurus, and you're probably aware of this, but Taurus in astrology for you is that sector of the sky that rules your, well, not only your social reputation, but your career, the way that you're viewed in society, your contribution to society, your social standing, your social status, that kind of thing. And Uranus being a planet that's so advanced, so forward thinking, so revolutionary. And then we have the sun there. The sun actually moves into Taurus today as I'm filming this, and the new moon will be in Taurus on the 22nd. Now, the new moon in Taurus is kind of an energy that speaks to 2021 in many ways. It's a little prelude, if you will, a little looking glass into the future. And for you, it is affecting your career. It's also affecting your relationships. And for a lot of you, it's affecting the relationship between the two. But for a lot of you, you're not in relationships. The World and the Ten of Swords. For a lot of you, you're not in relationships, and it's your career that comes to the forefront. For others of you that are kind of comfortable with where you are in your career, Leo, there is big changes afoot in your life, and they're not necessarily bad ones. I actually look at this as quite a positive. You're closing out some kind of, and look underneath, we have the Judgment card actually. You're closing off some kind of cycle for you, and I believe it's possibly to do with Saturn, because Saturn was in your other work sector. It was in the 6th house. Now it's moved into the 7th, which is your partnerships. But for some of you, you won't be feeling that energy just yet. So if you're at the later end of Leo, you won't be feeling it just yet. But listen, the World card and the Ten of Swords is that energy where you need to say, okay, I had a bad run with certain things. I had a lot of ups and downs. I had some things not work out the way I expected them to. I had some relationships that I actually thought would go the distance close out, possibly in a way that was quite dramatic, or you just simply feel at this time so shut off from the rest of the world that your old fears, in many ways, Leo, are starting to come to the fore. Now, the reason for that is that we're still in the aftermath of an eclipse in Cancer back in January, and that was in your 12th house. So whenever I think of the 12th house, I think of the subconscious mind that influences so much of our decisions that we don't always know. You're a sign that likes to live in the sunshine. You're a sign that likes to bask in the good energy and the good vibes and have the best out of life and see the best in situations. And you're so vibrant as a sign. You're so lively, and it's just the type of people that you always want to have around. So you can oftentimes plow through life maybe forgetting a little bit that some things, especially as a fixed sign, some things were very hard to let go of. And for a lot of you, it could be a change that rattled you deeper than you realized. A lot of people, and the reason we deal in tarot is because there can be things really influencing your decisions and going on below the surface that you don't always acknowledge. So what does this Taurus season mean for you? Well, the Hierophant, the Taurus card, perfect. Very on the nose. It means that you're rethinking what you commit to. You know? You're rethinking your belief system. Do you know, Uranus and Taurus is revolutioning the things in life that we value, which I love so much. It's because I'm a fixed sign myself, but I do feel that sometimes you can really get stuck in the way things were, and every so often something occurs that just shifts your perspective, and I think Taurus season is that for you. And it's very much a look how far I've come, and by God, look how far I'm going kind of energy. Ten of Wands. So the Hierophant in the Ten of Wands is telling me that in Taurus season you intend to work very, very hard. You intend, regardless of your work situation, Devil energy, you intend to work really, really, really very hard. Now, where you are a slave to something is where Uranus wants to release you. And the new moon in Taurus for you, Leo, is telling you that in terms of how well you could do with something, you also have a great deal of concern. The Empress. You have a great deal of concern about how far you can go, but you're starting to realize in Taurus season, let the energy come in, let yourself feel it. You're starting to see that, you know what, I can go really far. And I think that is when Leos are at their best, when they know that they're going to make something big of themselves. And you know what, if it's in love, you're thinking, do you know, I deserve the best. I can make this work, or I can find that person, or I can be a mother or be a father, or I can be the best partner that I need to be, even if I've done some things I'm really not proud of in the past. Even if there's some things I feel a lot of regret for, even if there's a few things that my pride are standing in the way of, you're starting to see, Leo, that you can make great advances in love and money. Venus is in Gemini. Venus in Gemini for you is the 11th house. The wish fulfillment house, the social connections house, the friendship house. It's a good vibe kind of house, but it's also very forward thinking. It's futuristic. The 11th house is where I sort of see the computers and the technological advancements. All of that sits in there. And you know, that's also the thing. Strength card, that is your energy. Beautiful. You're rushing towards yourself. I like that. You need to do that. Do you know where I think the 11th house can get a bit tricky though? With Venus being in Gemini. This is what I'm sort of seeing for you. With developments in software and developments in technology comes developments in spyware, right? The possibility of getting into territory that is private, getting into a breach of privacy, spying, keeping an eye on people to an unhealthy level, right? That's what the devil's saying. With Venus going retrograde in that sector, Leo, maybe you could do with looking where some, and I think it's coming from a need for people to be honest with you. I think it's coming from a need to have people in your life that you can trust, that will be in it for the long haul. I think for a lot of you, there are things about yourself that you wouldn't admit maybe to your friends or to your partner, but you're starting to go to war with. And I think the 10th house has a lot to do with that. I think the 10th house energy has a lot to do with the way we feel we're perceived. And I think as a Leo, if you feel that you're not being perceived well, you can act up just as badly. The two knights here on the opposite side of strength are asking you to be patient, to be poised, to be graceful, to be healing rather than ferocious. They're asking you that if you can get through Taurus season as being under the microscope in terms of being watched, and you can be on your best behavior and you can address the darker stuff in private rather than roaring ferociously to get everyone on your team, if you can address some things in private, you will have great successes. You will have great things to reap, particularly as we go into May Taurus season, right? Because the Venus element here of Taurus season, and it's here as well with the Hierophant, and it's here as well with the World. We have Leo, which is you. We have Venus, which is Taurus. We have Capricorn, which is Saturn. Saturn's here twice. So what's Saturn doing? Saturn's in your partnership sector. And what does it want you to do? It wants you to put some restrictions on something there. Maybe you could be a little bit more restrictive on how much you expect the other person to worship you. And I know that's not language that a Leo wants to hear, and it's not a bad thing. Everybody wants to be adored, especially in the Empress way. But be mindful, and you deserve to be adored, but be mindful of where you're maybe going over somebody else's boundary in order to get that. And it's not even coming from a place of wanting to be adored, it's coming from a place of fearing a lack of commitment. But commitment is not slavery. And Saturn in Aquarius is going to want you to know that. Commitment is not slavery. You have to leave behind some petty attitudes towards money and wealth. Uranus in Taurus is doing that for absolutely everybody. It is asking us to reevaluate our value, what we hold dear, what is most important. It's asking us in a big way to do it. And so is Pluto in Capricorn. It's asking us to restructure things. And I think it's interesting with the Nine of Swords and the Five of Cups and the Seven of Swords and the Four of Cups. I mean, dear God, there's a story here. But isn't it funny how a virus comes into the world that seems to be the enemy, and yet it's continuously exposing who the real enemies are? Is it just me that thinks that? Is it the enemy, or is it just exposing who that really is? What in your life, Leo, is an enemy of your best self? You're figuring that out in Taurus season, and it's going to make you so happy to get past that. But, as usual, you need to do it with grace, and you need to do it with poise, and you need to do it with a sense of the actions that I'm taking in Taurus season, how I'm reacting to things, are going to have very long-lasting effects. You don't want to pick a fight in Taurus season. Especially not if it's with someone who is proving themselves over and over to be untrustworthy. You don't want to have that fight, because they can be just as vicious. You want to be strong, and you want to be noble, and you want to be regal, and you want to be self-assured. And that is all you will need to have to receive the accolades that you deserve in Taurus season. We'll get more into it in May. Just be mindful that Venus goes retrograde in Gemini in May. And again, I want to make sure that you, especially with the new moon in Taurus, are not sabotaging any potential partnerships or any current partnerships or relationships in your life by distributing behaviors that could really come across, if left unattended, as toxic. That's the thing with fire signs. When you start to burn, you burn and 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 you burn till everything's scorched, and you don't want to do that. That's not me hating on you. That is just me telling you that, you know, you've so much potential, but there's a lot of antagonists come up whenever you're a fixed sign and it's a fixed season. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a love card for you so you can get some additional answers in love and see what's going on for lovely Leos in love mid-April. Oh, the sacred woman. Okay, so that is the boundaries. That is having your boundaries, committing yourself to your divinity. Oh, jeepers. Appreciating that you are sacred, that you are worthy, that you are important. Knowing your nobility. I like it. Stay in touch with your spiritual side. Yin and yang. Balancing energy. Balancing yourself out. Understanding that yes, you do, Leo. I am sorry, but you do have a dark side. Everybody does. And as much as you love to be in the sunshine, sometimes it comes out. And I do think that in order to have these healthy dynamics and have a healthier career prospect, I think you need to look at these darker energies that are coming through. I think you're ready to let that stuff go. I think you're ready to let this ego die off. Don't you? I think you are. I think you're walking towards, well, I think you're prancing towards great adventure and great excitement. And going after what it is with enthusiasm. If you don't feel the enthusiasm at the beginning of Taurus season, it's a big sign you've got some stuff to work through. But you'll do it and you will succeed. You always do. You always get it right. You always come out the other end. You will. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next set of readings. Bye, Leo.